looked out the small window of his transport ship. Below him, a planet covered in crystal cities grew bigger. The buildings looked like they were made of glass and light. They twisted up into the sky in ways that made no sense to human eyes. This was his first time seeing an alien world. He was here to represent all of humanity. The thought made his stomach feel tight with worry. "Sir, we will land in 5 minutes," said Lieutenant Sarah, his assistant. She looked just as nervous as he felt. Wore his best uniform, but he still felt small. The aliens down there had ships that could travel between stars faster than humans ever dreamed. They had weapons that could destroy planets. What could Earth possibly offer them? The landing pad was smooth crystal that seemed to glow from inside. When stepped off his ship, the ground felt warm under his boots. The air smelled different here, like flowers and electricity. 3 tall figures waited for him. They were the rulers of this part of space. They had pale skin that gave off a soft light. Their eyes were bigger than human eyes, and they moved like dancers. Had been told they could talk directly into his mind. It felt strange when it happened. "I am High Chancellor," said a voice inside's head. The alien's mouth did not move. "You may follow us, human." The way he said human made it sound like an insult. They walked through halls that looked grown instead of built. The walls curved and flowed like water that had been frozen. Other aliens stopped to stare at as he passed. He could feel their thoughts pressing against his mind like whispers. The throne room was huge. The ceiling went up so high that could not see the top. In the center sat the emperor on a chair made of what looked like diamond. He was older than the others, with silver lines moving slowly across his skin. Next to the throne stood a younger alien. She looked at with curious eyes instead of the cold stare the others gave him. Unlike them, she seemed interested rather than disgusted. "I am Emperor," said the voice in his head. It felt more powerful than the others. "This is my daughter, Princess. She will rule after me." Bowed the way he had practiced. "Your Majesty, I come seeking friendship between our peoples." Friendship? The Chancellor's mental voice was cold. "Humans live less than 100 years. You fight wars constantly. You have poisoned your own planet. What could we possibly gain from knowing such creatures?" Felt angry but kept his voice calm. "We offer new ideas, determination, and fresh ways of thinking. We have survived many challenges." "Survived through violence and luck," the Chancellor shot back. "That is not wisdom. That is barely controlled chaos." Princess stepped forward. Unlike the others, she spoke out loud. "Father, perhaps we should learn more about humans before judging them." The Emperor looked at his daughter for a long moment. "Very well. The humans will stay as our guests for 1 week. We will observe their nature and then decide." Bowed again. "Thank you, Your Majesty. We will prove ourselves worthy." As guards led them to rooms, Princess walked beside them. "Tell me, Captain," she said aloud, "what is it like knowing your life is so short?" The question surprised. "I suppose we try to make every day count. We work to leave things better than we found them." "Interesting," she said softly. "My people live for thousands of years. Sometimes I think that makes us afraid to take risks." Their guest rooms were beautiful but felt like living in a museum. The walls were clear crystal, so anyone could see inside. Realized they were being watched and studied like animals in a zoo. Over the next few days, met with different alien officials. Each meeting felt like a test. They asked about human history, wars, and mistakes. Most questions focused on human violence and failures. "Your people have fought over religion," one official noted. "You fight over land, money, and even the color of skin. How can we trust such violent beings?" "We have learned from our mistakes," replied. "Fighting taught us the value of peace. Hardship taught us to help each other." But he could feel they did not believe him. To them, humans were dangerous children who should not be allowed near advanced technology. Princess was different. She asked about human art, music, and dreams. She wanted to know why humans explored space when Earth had so many problems. Because dreams make us reach for something better, explained. They help us become more than we are. She smiled at that. It was the first real smile he had seen from any alien. I think I understand. We have forgotten how to dream of being more. As days passed, saw problems in alien society. They were very advanced but also stuck in old ways. They had peace because they avoided all risks. They had stability because they refused to change. On his last day, Princess invited to walk in the palace gardens. The plants there were unlike anything on Earth. They changed colors and shapes as they moved. "What will your people do if we say no?" she asked. Thought carefully. "We will keep growing and exploring. We hope for friends, but we do not need permission to exist." She nodded. That confidence scares them. They built an empire on the idea that being old means being wise. You challenge that just by being here. Was about to reply when loud alarms started ringing. The crystal walls around them flashed red. Alien guards came running from all directions. Princess grabbed his arm. Her skin had gone from glowing to pale white. Her big eyes were full of fear. "What is happening?" asked. Before she could answer, he heard the sound of weapons firing somewhere in the palace. His military training kicked in immediately. His muscles tensed, and his mind started thinking about escape routes. A guard ran up to them. His fancy armor was burned and broken. "Princess, you must come with me now. We are under attack." "Attack?" Princess seemed confused, like the word made no sense. Who would attack the palace? The guard looked around nervously. "Unknown enemies, Your Highness. They have killed 6 guards and are moving toward the throne room." Felt his training take over. "We need to get inside, somewhere with walls and fewer ways in." The guard stared at like he was speaking a foreign language. "The human should not give orders here." "The human is trying to keep your princess alive," said firmly. "How many attackers? What weapons? How did they get past your defenses?" Through the crystal walls, saw dark figures moving through palace halls. They wore black armor and moved with deadly purpose. These were not palace guards or ceremony soldiers. These were killers. Princess whispered one word that made blood go cold. The wall exploded inward. Glass pieces flew everywhere as the garden wall exploded. Threw himself forward and knocked Princess to the ground. Sharp crystal bits whistled through the air where her head had been just seconds before. 3 alien soldiers stepped through the hole in the wall. They were shorter than the tall aliens knew, but built like tanks. Their black armor seemed to eat light. Red eyes glowed behind dark face masks. These had heard about them in his training. They were a warlike people who believed only the strong deserved to live. The palace guard raised his ceremonial weapon. It was pretty but not made for real fighting. The lead shot him down before he could even fire. "Princess," they said in a voice like grinding metal, "you will come with us." "No," said. He stepped between them and the princess. All he had was a small knife given to him as part of the diplomatic ceremony. Against 3 heavy weapons, it was almost useless. They laughed. "A human, what is a primitive doing here?" "Leaving," said. He picked up a large piece of broken crystal from the ground. "With the princess." The first raised his weapon, was already moving. Years of training had taught him that when facing bigger guns, you had to get close fast. He threw the crystal piece as hard as he could while diving sideways. The sharp crystal hit the face mask and cracked it. The soldier stumbled back, trying to clear his vision. Was on him before he could recover. The ceremonial knife was small, but it found the weak spot where the helmet met the armor. The second fired. The energy blast caught in the shoulder. Pain exploded through his body like fire. A normal alien would have been killed by that shot, but human bones were denser and human muscles were stronger. Grabbed the dead's weapon and rolled behind a large plant sculpture. The energy rifle felt heavy and strange in his hands, but the trigger was simple enough. "Princess, stay down," he shouted. Then he popped up and fired 3 quick shots. They had expected an easy job. They thought they would face soft palace guards who had never seen real fighting. They did not expect to meet someone who kept fighting after being shot, someone who used cover and moved in ways they could not predict. Was not soft like the aliens they knew. He was a human soldier who had trained for war his whole life. The second took a blast to the chest and fell. The third one tried to run back through the hole in the wall, shot him in the back. The silence after the fight was broken only by alarms still ringing throughout the palace. Stayed hidden for 30 more seconds, listening for more enemies. When he was sure they were alone, he stood up. Princess slowly came out from behind the stone bench where she had been hiding. Her beautiful clothes were torn and dirty. There was a small cut on her cheek from flying glass, but she was alive. "You killed them," she said, staring at the 3 bodies. "Yes," checked his wounded shoulder. The energy blast had burned through his uniform and scorched the skin underneath. It hurt badly but would not kill him. "They would have killed you." "But how? They had better weapons and armor." Picked up a second energy rifle and checked how much power it had left. Better gear does not always win fights. They expected you to give up. They expected me to run. More alarms started sounding. Could hear fighting from other parts of the palace. The 3 soldiers in the garden had not been alone. "We need to move," said. "This was just the first group. There will be more." Princess looked lost. Her safe world had been turned upside down in just a few minutes. "Where can we go if they can attack the palace itself?" "Somewhere we can defend, somewhere with ways to escape if we need to." Started toward the palace, then looked back at her. "Can you run?" She nodded, though she still looked shocked. They moved through halls filled with smoke and the smell of burned crystal. Kept the energy rifle ready, checking every corner and doorway. Princess stayed close behind him, trusting him to lead even though she had only known him for a week. They passed other palace guards, but most were dead or hurt. The few still alive seemed frozen by the sudden violence. They had trained for ceremonies, not war. Found a communication panel and tried to call his ship, but the signal was being blocked. They had planned this attack carefully. They wanted to kill the princess and throw the empire into chaos. "The safe room," Princess said suddenly. "There is a safe room near the throne chamber. My father will be there." They moved carefully through the palace, staying away from main halls where the fighting was loudest. Had to stop twice to fight more soldiers they met. Each time, his human speed and willingness to take damage to give damage won the fight. But each fight left him more hurt. Energy burns covered his arms and legs. He was starting to feel dizzy from losing blood. Even human strength had limits. When they finally reached the safe room, was running on pure willpower. The heavy crystal door was sealed, but Princess knew the mental code to open it. Inside, they found Emperor and a few surviving court officials. High Chancellor was there too. His fancy clothes were burned, and his usual proud look was replaced by pure fear. "Father," Princess ran to the Emperor. The Emperor looked at his daughter, then at, "You brought her here safely." Nodded, "She is unhurt, Your Majesty." "And you are badly wounded." Looked down at his burned uniform and bleeding arms. "I will live." The Emperor studied him for a long moment. "You could have escaped when the attack began. Your ship was unguarded. Why did you stay?" The question seemed strange to. She needed help. "But she is not your responsibility. She is not even your species." Met the Emperor's large eyes. "That does not matter." High Chancellor spoke up, his voice shaky. "The attack is over. Our remaining guards have driven off the surviving, but Captain, your actions." He seemed to struggle with words. "What about them?" asked. "The security cameras recorded everything. The footage of you fighting those soldiers. It has already been sent to every world in the Empire." Princess looked worried. What he means is that everyone has now seen a human defeat elite warriors. Some will see you as a hero, others will see you as a threat. Felt very tired suddenly. The pain from his wounds was getting worse, and the room seemed to be spinning slightly. A threat, the Emperor answered. My people have lived in peace for 1,000 years. We have forgotten what violence looks like. Seeing you fight so effectively, so ruthlessly, it scares them. I was protecting your daughter. Yes, the Emperor said quietly, and that may be the most frightening thing of all, that a stranger would risk everything for someone he barely knows. Tried to understand what they meant, but the room was spinning faster now. His legs gave out and he fell to his knees. Get the medical team, Princess ordered, now. As darkness closed over his vision, heard the Emperor's voice one more time. We are no longer the same people we were this morning, and neither, I think, are you. Woke up in a bed that felt softer than clouds. The room around him was white crystal that glowed gently with warm light. He tried to sit up and immediately felt dizzy. Careful, said a voice beside him. An alien in medical clothes was checking a device that showed his heartbeat. You have been unconscious for 3 weeks. Your injuries were very serious. 3 weeks, blinked and tried to remember what had happened. The garden, the attack, Princess. Is she safe? He asked. The medical alien nodded. Princess is unharmed because of your actions. She has been waiting to see you. As if she had heard her name, the door opened and Princess walked in. She looked different than before. Her usual formal clothes were replaced by simpler ones. Her face looked older, more serious. Captain, she said, sitting in a chair next to his bed, how do you feel? Like I got hit by a spaceship, said honestly. What happened after I passed out? Princess' face became sad. The attack was stopped, but what came after has been difficult. She waved her hand, and a viewing screen appeared in the air above his bed. The screen showed news reports from across the alien empire. Saw himself fighting the soldiers in the garden. The security cameras had recorded everything. Watched himself throwing crystal pieces, diving for cover, and shooting down armored soldiers. From the outside, it looked even more violent than he remembered. This video has been shown on every world in the Empire, Princess said. Everyone has seen a human defeat elite killers. Felt confused. That is good, right? For some people, yes, but for others, she paused, choosing her words carefully. High Chancellor has been very loud about the danger that humans represent. The screen changed to show speaking to the High Council. Even through the recording, could feel the fear in his mental voice. This human's actions prove what I have been saying, declared. Humans are violent creatures who solve every problem through force. Do we want such beings to have our technology, our trade routes? Other council members nodded in agreement, could see fear in their faces. They had never seen real violence before, and his fight with the Had shocked them deeply. But there is another side, Princess continued. The screen now showed her own speech to the council. This human risked his life to save me. He could have run when the attack began. Instead, he chose to fight impossible odds to protect someone he barely knew. Watched as she faced the council with strength and confidence. For centuries, we have been proud of our civilization and peace. But what good is peace if we cannot protect it? What good is civilization if it cannot defend innocent people? The screen went dark. Princess turned back to, the Empire is divided. Half see you as a dangerous savage. Half see you as a hero who did what our own guards could not. Struggled to understand this. What does the Emperor think? My father has said very little, but he allowed you to recover here instead of sending you back to Earth immediately. That means something. The door opened and Lieutenant entered. She looked happy to see awake, but also worried. Captain, I have been monitoring communications from Earth, she said. Command wants to know our status. The video of the attack has reached human space too. Nodded, Earth would want to know if their diplomatic mission had worked or failed. What is our situation now? Princess answered, You are under palace protection while you heal, but officially the Empire has not decided whether to accept humanity yet. There is more, sir, Lieutenant added quietly. I have been listening to secret military communications. They are gathering a large fleet. This got Princess' attention immediately. What kind of fleet? Lieutenant looked uncomfortable. Best guess, at least 200 ships, including their biggest warships. They are meeting at the edge of space. Princess stood up quickly. 200 ships, that is not a raiding force. That is an invasion army. Forced himself to sit up despite the pain. How long before they reach your space? 2 weeks, maybe 3, Lieutenant replied. The room became very quiet. Could see fear in Princess' eyes. The alien military was advanced but had not fought a real war in over 1,000 years. Their ships were beautiful and their weapons powerful, but their crews had never faced an enemy that shot back. Have you told your father about this? Asked. Princess shook her head. Not yet, I wanted to speak with you first. She paused. Captain, your people have experience with war, real war, not just parades. What would you do facing this threat? Thought carefully. First, gather information about enemy strength and plans. Second, prepare defenses and plan ways to get civilians to safety. Third, find allies. Allies, she repeated thoughtfully. You mean humans? Human ships are smaller and less advanced, admitted. But we have something your people do not. We know how to fight when we are outmatched. Princess was quiet for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. The High Chancellor believes we should surrender rather than fight. He says it would save lives. It might, agreed, but it would also end your civilization. They do not conquer to make friends, they conquer to rule. And if we fight and lose anyway, what if we bring destruction on ourselves by choosing violence? Met her eyes. Then you lose as free people rather than live as slaves. Sometimes that matters more than life itself. She stared at him for a long time, could feel her thoughts gently touching his mind. Unlike when other aliens did it, her mental touch felt warm and curious rather than cold and judging. You really believe that, do not you? She said finally. That some things are worth dying for. Do not you? Princess was quiet for a moment. I thought I did, but seeing real violence, seeing real death, it changes things. It should, said. If it did not, you would be like them. He meant the trick is not letting fear stop you from doing what is right. Lieutenant cleared her throat. Sir, there is something else. The communications mentioned you by name. They are calling you the human weapon. They think you are some kind of super soldier. Almost laughed, but it hurt too much. A super soldier. I am just a diplomat who had some military training. To them, that might be the same thing, Princess said thoughtfully. Their intelligence did not prepare them for someone who would fight like you did. The meaning of that settled over the room like a heavy blanket. They had planned their attack based on what they knew about alien capabilities. They had not planned for humans. Princess said carefully, what exactly do your people know about fighting? She looked embarrassed. Very little. We have been at peace for so long that war is more like a story to us than something real. And they know this. Yes, they have been watching us for years, waiting for the right moment to attack. Closed his eyes and thought. An invasion fleet of 200 ships against people who had forgotten how to fight. It would be a massacre unless something changed. Princess, I need to speak with your father. All of us do. Why? Because your people are about to learn that sometimes peace is not the absence of war. Sometimes peace is something you have to fight for. 2 days later, stood before the alien High Council. His shoulder was still sore from his wounds, but the alien medical treatment had healed most of the damage. He wore a clean uniform, though he could see the council members staring at the scars still visible on his hands and neck. The council chamber was huge, with curved walls that rose up into darkness. Dozens of aliens sat in floating chairs arranged in a circle around the center where stood. Their mental voices created a constant whisper at the edge of his mind, like radio static. Emperor sat on a raised platform, with Princess at his right side. High Chancellor stood at the Emperor's left, and could feel cold hostility coming from him like winter air. "Captain," the Emperor began, his mental voice echoing in the chamber, "you are here to answer for your actions during the attack on our palace." Straightened his shoulders. "I am ready to answer any questions, Your Majesty." High Chancellor stepped forward. In his hands he held a crystal tablet that glowed with recorded information. "Captain, you killed 3 soldiers with extreme violence. The recordings show you continuing to fight even after being wounded. Is this normal behavior for your species?" "I was protecting Princess," replied. "The attackers would have killed her if I had not stopped them." "But the level of violence you used was too much," continued. "A civilized being would have tried to capture the attackers, not kill them." Felt anger rising inside him. With respect, High Chancellor, civilized beings do not attack diplomatic missions and try to murder princesses. A murmur went through the council. Several members looked shocked that had spoken so directly to. "You see," said, turning to address the other council members. "Even now he responds with aggression. This is the nature of humans. They solve every problem through force." Counselor, an elderly alien with silver patterns covering her skin, spoke up. "But High Chancellor, the human's actions saved the princess's life. Our own guards could not protect her." "Our guards were trained for ceremony," shot back. "They were not prepared for such brutal tactics because we live in a civilized society." "A civilized society that is about to be invaded," Princess said quietly. The chamber fell completely silent. Could feel sudden fear spike from every council member. Princess had not been scheduled to speak, but no one dared to stop the Emperor's daughter. "What do you mean?" asked Counselor Vex, a younger alien who had always supported peaceful solutions. Princess stood and gestured. A holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a star map with moving markers representing ships. 2 days ago, our long-range sensors detected a massive fleet moving toward our border. 200 ships, including their most powerful warships. They will reach our outer colonies in less than 2 weeks. The reaction was immediate. Mental voices exploded in panic and confusion throughout the chamber. Several council members stood up, shouting questions in both mental and spoken language. "Silence," the Emperor commanded, and the chamber instantly went quiet. "Explain how you came by this information." "Captain's assistant detected their military communications," Princess replied. "Human technology is different from ours. They were able to intercept signals we could not." All eyes turned back to. He could feel their fear and confusion, but also something else, desperate hope. High Chancellor recovered first. "Even if this is true, it changes nothing. We should contact thee and negotiate. Perhaps we can reach an understanding." "What kind of understanding?" Princess demanded. "They just tried to kill me in our own palace. They are not interested in talking." "Then we should surrender," said. "Better to live under rule than to see our worlds destroyed in a war we cannot win." The chamber exploded again. Some council members agreed with, arguing that their civilization was too precious to risk in combat. Others, led by Counselor, said that surrender would be the end of everything they had built. Listened to the debate and felt growing dismay. These were the leaders of an empire that controlled 30 star systems, but they were talking like helpless victims. "Your Majesty," said, raising his voice above the arguments, "may I speak?" The Emperor nodded, and the chamber fell quiet again. "You are debating surrender or destruction as if those are the only choices," said. "But there is a third option." "And what is that?" asked Counselor Vex. "You fight," said simply. "You defend your worlds and your people. High Chancellor laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Fight? With what? Our fleet has not seen real combat in 1,000 years. Our crews are teachers and artists, not warriors. Then you learn, replied. You adapt. You find allies who can help you. Allies like humans. His mental voice was full of scorn. Your entire species has fewer ships than we have in our home fleet. What could you possibly offer us? Met his gaze steadily. Experience, knowledge, the willingness to fight when everything else fails. Princess stepped forward. Father, I propose a military alliance with humanity. Let Captain help coordinate our defenses. The chamber exploded in outraged voices. Half the council seemed horrified by the suggestion, while the other half looked desperate enough to consider it. Absolutely not, declared. We will not hand control of our military to primitive aliens. Even if it means the difference between victory and defeat, Princess asked. There is no victory against the, replied. Only different degrees of defeat. At least if we surrender, our culture survives. Does it? Asked quietly. When you give up the right to defend yourselves, when you accept that others will decide your fate, is that still your culture? Counselor spoke up. The human raises an important question. If we surrender without fighting, what message does that send to our people? That we value our lives more than our freedom. I value the lives of billions of civilians more than abstract concepts like freedom, shot back. Felt the debate reaching a critical point. The council was split almost evenly, with fear and pride fighting in every heart. He made a decision that he knew would either save them all or damn them. High Chancellor, he said, you are afraid of humans because you think we are too violent, but I think you are afraid of something else. The chamber went deadly quiet, could feel anger building like a storm. And what is that, human? Asked. You are afraid that we might win, said. You are afraid that if humans help you defeat it will prove that your way of thinking is wrong. That peace without strength is just waiting to be conquered. His face went white with fury. How dare you? I dare because someone has to, replied. You built a beautiful empire based on wisdom and culture, but you forgot that sometimes wisdom means being willing to fight for what you believe in. Emperor had been silent throughout the debate, but now he stood. The entire chamber held its breath. The human speaks truth that we do not wish to hear, the Emperor said slowly. We have become so afraid of being like our enemies that we have forgotten how to defend what makes us different from them. He paused, looking around the chamber at the faces of his counselors. But the greatest danger to an empire is not its enemies, the Emperor continued. It is the moment when its subjects realize their leaders are afraid. High Chancellor stared at the Emperor in shock. Your Majesty, surely you cannot be considering this madness. The Emperor's gaze settled on. Captain, if we were to accept your assistance, what would you require? Felt the weight of history settling on his shoulders. Complete authority over defensive preparations, access to all military resources, and the right to call for help from Earth. Impossible, declared. We cannot give a human such power. Then you will lose, said simply. They are coming whether you accept help or not. The only question is whether you will face them with everything you have or surrender without trying. The Emperor looked at his daughter, then back at. The silence stretched for long seconds that felt like hours. Finally, the Emperor spoke. The Council will vote. All in favor of military alliance with humanity, raise your hand. Watched as hands slowly rose around the chamber. The count was close, but when it was finished, the alliance had passed by just 2 votes. High Chancellor's face looked like carved stone. This is a mistake that will destroy us all. Maybe, the Emperor said quietly, but it will be our mistake to make. The vote was close. 16 council members supported the alliance, 14 opposed it. High Chancellor looked like someone had hit him as the Emperor announced the result. Captain, the Emperor said, You have emergency authority over our military defenses. May fortune smile upon us all." The next 10 days passed in a blur of activity, worked with Princess to reorganize the alien fleet. The ships were beautiful and their weapons powerful, but the crews had no idea how to use them in real fighting. "Your people fight like they are performing a dance," explained to a group of ship captains. "Everything is planned and beautiful and coordinated, but the enemy will not follow your script." Captain, commander of the flagship Starlight, looked confused. "Then how should we fight?" "Like you are trying to stay alive," replied. "When your plan falls apart, make a new one. When your weapons fail, use whatever you have. When you are outnumbered, do not fight fair." The alien officers looked shocked. Fighting unfairly was not part of their culture. Had called for help from Earth, but the nearest human fleet was 6 weeks away. They would have to face the alone. Princess threw herself into the preparations with surprising energy. She learned about weapons, ship tactics, and combat operations. More importantly, she helped convince her people that survival was worth fighting dirty for. "I never understood courage before," she told as they watched workers install human-designed sensors on alien ships. "I thought it meant being calm and dignified when facing danger." "That is one kind of courage," agreed. "But there is another kind, the courage to be afraid and fight anyway." On the 11th day, the fleet arrived. Stood on the bridge of the Starlight, watching the enemy ships appear on the sensors. 200 vessels, just as they had estimated. The formations were tight and disciplined, designed to crush any opposition through sheer firepower. "All ships, this is Captain," he broadcast to the alien fleet. "Remember what we practiced. Do not try to match their formations. Stay mobile, use your speed advantage, and make them come to you." The first engagement was a disaster. Half the alien captains forgot their training the moment they saw the enemy fleet. They tried to form traditional battle lines and tore them apart. "Fall back to the asteroid field," ordered. "All ships, emergency retreat." Princess, standing beside him on the bridge, watched their beautiful ships exploding on the. "We are losing," she said quietly. "We are learning," corrected. "The ones who survive this will be better in the next fight." The alien fleet retreated to the Helios asteroid field, a maze of rocks and debris left over from an ancient destroyed planet. They followed, confident in their victory. "Now we make them fight on our terms," said. "All ships scatter formation. Use the asteroids for cover. Hit and run tactics only." This time the aliens followed orders. Their ships were faster and more agile than the vessels. In the asteroid field, that advantage finally mattered. Ship after ship, the aliens struck from behind cover and disappeared before they could respond. It was not the elegant space ballet they had trained for, but it worked. But they adapted quickly. They sent smaller groups to hunt down individual alien ships while their main fleet pushed toward the capital world. "We cannot stop them all," Captain reported. "They will reach Prime in 6 hours." Made a decision that went against everything he had been taught about space combat. "All ships fall back to the planet. We make our stand there." "In the gravity well?" Princess asked. "That eliminates our speed advantage." "Yes, but it also eliminates theirs, and it gives us something more important." "What?" "Something worth fighting for that they can see." The final battle took place in orbit around Prime. The crystal cities on the planet's surface sparkled like jewels against the dark continents, and every alien crew member could see their home below them. Had one last card to play. While the fleets fought in space, he led a strike team down to the planet's surface. "What are we doing?" Princess asked as their shuttle raced toward the capital city. She had insisted on coming despite protests. "The ground forces will try to capture the government buildings," explained. "If they take the Emperor hostage, the fleet will surrender no matter how well the space battle is going." They landed in the palace gardens where had first fought soldiers 3 weeks earlier. The crystal walls had been repaired, but could still see scorch marks from the energy weapons. The assault teams landed 20 minutes later. This time there were 50 of them, heavily armed and expecting resistance. They moved through the palace corridors with military precision, clearing each room carefully. Had spent the last 10 days learning everything he could about the palace layout. He knew where the defenders would be strongest and where the attackers would expect to meet resistance. He led them away from all of those places. "Princess, can you contact the palace guards mentally?" he asked as they moved through a service corridor. "Yes, but they are scattered throughout the building." "Tell them to make noise in the east wing. Lots of noise. Make them think that is where the Emperor is hiding." While the forces moved toward the false target, led a small team of alien guards through maintenance tunnels to the real safe room where the Emperor was waiting. But they were not trying to defend the safe room. They were trying to capture the commander. "This is crazy," one of the guards whispered as they crept through crystal corridors. "We are supposed to be protecting the Emperor, not hunting enemies." "Best way to protect him is to end the threat," replied. They found the commander in the throne room, coordinating his forces while they searched for the Emperor. He was a massive figure in black armor, with red eyes visible through his helmet. "Surrender, humans," the commander growled when and his team emerged from their hiding places. "Your planet will fall anyway." "Maybe," agreed, "but you will not see it." The fight was brief but vicious. The commander was stronger and better armed, but he was alone and had learned from his previous fights. When it was over, the throne room was silent except for the sound of breathing hard. Princess looked at the fallen commander, then at, "Is it over?" "Down here, yes, but the real battle is still happening up there." They returned to the palace communications center and contacted the alien fleet. The space battle was still raging, but something had changed. The alien crews were fighting differently now. They had seen their planet under attack, their princess in danger, and something had awakened in them. "All ships, this is Captain," broadcast on the enemy frequency. "Your ground assault has failed. Your commander is dead. You have one chance to withdraw." The response came back immediately. "Human, you will pay for this interference." "Maybe," said, "but not today." The fleet fought on, but their coordination was broken. Without their ground forces to capture the government, the invasion had become just another battle. And in a straight fight, with their homes beneath them, the aliens proved they could be just as fierce as anyone. When the last ship finally retreated, jumping to hyperspace in defeat, the silence on the communications channels was complete. "We won," Princess said, as if she could not believe it. "You won," corrected. "I just showed you how to fight." Emperor appeared on the calling from his safe room. "Captain, report to the throne room immediately. Bring my daughter." When they arrived, they found the Emperor sitting on his crystal throne, but he looked different. Older, perhaps, but also somehow stronger. "Captain," the Emperor said, "you have changed us." "Your Majesty." "For 1,000 years, we believed that civilization meant avoiding conflict. You have shown us that sometimes avoiding conflict means accepting injustice. Sometimes peace must be defended." High Chancellor entered the throne room, his elegant clothes replaced by simple military gear. He looked tired, but not defeated. "Captain," said, "I owe you an apology. I was wrong about humans, and I was wrong about what it means to be civilized." Nodded but said nothing. He had learned that sometimes the best response to an apology was simple acceptance. The Emperor stood. "Captain, on behalf of the Empire, I offer humanity full partnership and alliance. We have much to learn from each other." "Thank you, Your Majesty." "But more than that," Princess added, "we want to learn about courage, about fighting for what matters, about being willing to sacrifice for strangers." Smiled, "Those are hard lessons. Are you sure you want to learn them?" "We are sure," the Emperor said. though I suspect the teacher will learn as much as the students. As looked out through the crystal walls at the city below, he realized the emperor was right. He had come to protect a princess, and ended up helping an entire civilization remember what they were capable of when they chose to fight for what they believed in. High Chancellor's words echoed in his mind. I feared you would destroy us. I never imagined you would save us from ourselves. Sometimes thought, protection meant changing the very thing you set out to protect. Sometimes it meant showing people that they were stronger than they knew. The war was over. The real work was just beginning.